Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 7th September 2017. The first article, attacks by cow vigilantes must stop, Supreme Court tells the state. Now, cow vigilantism, it has come for discussion across the states in India. Law and order being the state subject, Union stated that it is the responsibility of the state governments. The Supreme Court has clearly directed the states to take action against them by deploying the senior police officers in every district. Added to that, it also has given suggestions to the centre to use its powers under Article 256 of the Constitution. Article 256 allows the Union to give directions to the states to maintain order in the states. Or whenever it thinks necessary, the Union can provide for necessary directions to the states. Now, Modi gives call to respect Myanmar's integrity. Now, Myanmar, Prime Minister Modi is in Myanmar visit and he met Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi. In this context, the Rohingya problem in Rakhine state of Myanmar is in its peaks. Here we need to note 2 points. Myanmar is ethnically very diverse nation and Buddhism is the largest religion over there. So in this context, Buddhist majority is conducting atrocities against the Rohingyas. And second, Prime Minister Modi has clearly stated that all the stakeholders shall sit together and solve the issue and they have to respect, or everyone has to respect the integrity of Myanmar. And in this, the Rohingyas, these were considered as the illegal immigrants from Bangladesh by Myanmar state and it do not recognize them as citizens. So Rohingyas are the non-state citizens who are facing the retribution and it has reached to proportion of an humanitarian crisis. Now, let's come to the editorial page. Testing times in Korean Peninsula. So here, recent events are Kim Jong-un regime, it has tested hydrogen bomb and also missile that overflew Japan. Japan and South Korea are the allies. So here, South Korea do not recognize North Korea, North Korea do not recognize South Korea. And after 1950s war in 1953, there was armistice and USA, China and Russia, these have signed this particular armistice. It means there is no peace treaty till date between these two countries. It means technically both the countries are at war. So here, USA and its allies, that is South Korea and Japan, these were considered as one group. Russia, China, North Korea, these were considered as another group. So during the Kim Jong-un era, China is the largest trade partner of North Korea. In 1950s war, Russia was the supporter of North Korea. So the Korean War was an important indication for the Cold War existing at that point of time. So in this case, let us try to understand the problem over here. As the regime changes have happened in Libya, Iraq, etc., North Korea also has feared that USA is planning for the same. So the present ruler Kim Jong-un believes that the nuclear weapons which he is going to possess only can act as a deterrent force from having or from US doing the same in his country. And second is, now North Korea and South Korea, there are two objectives. One is denuclearization of Korean Peninsula and second, unification of Korea. So China is not very favorable towards the unification of Korea. If it has to choose between a unified Korea or a nuclear North Korea, the second will be the lesser evil for China. And so its efforts to control the North Korea will be much less. And USA is actively conducting the military exercises in Korean Peninsula. And here, China has offered that if USA stops conducting exercises with South Korea, it can talk to North Korea on making no progress with regard to its nuclear projects. Here, let us see some history. So after this 1990s onwards, once the Cold War ended, both USA and USSR have decided to move away from their tactical nuclear weapons. And this has given rise to a denuclearization of Korean Peninsula and both the countries have agreed for the same. So here, during the Clinton era, USA has proposed that if North Korea continues under the NPT, it will provide for 2 nuclear reactors and also a humanitarian aid of $800 million. When George Bush came to power, he has reversed these things and nuclear reactors were never delivered and North Korea was called as an axis of evil and sanctions were imposed against the same. And in retaliation to this, North Korea moved out of NPT and six-party talks have started to bring it back into the NPT fold. And the six-party talks did not move forward as US has imposed further sanctions on North Korea. And finally, North Korea has tested the nuclear weapon and today the status is like a dead end. So in this stalemate situation, what is the way forward? USA's policy is like this: engage with China and impose or threaten North Korea by sanctions. It appears that this is no more working. As I said to you before, if China has to choose between a nuclear North Korea and a unified Korean peninsula, China will be better choosing a nuclear North Korea. So in this context, China's efforts are half-hearted. So the way forward is direct talks between United States of America and the North Korea. That's what we can say over here. A case for universal medical care. So a universal medical care can only come if the affordability to the medical care increases, rural-urban differences decreases. So the cost of the healthcare delivery is directly linked to the cost of medical education. As medical education costs are increasing and it is becoming more urban oriented, the inequalities in the healthcare delivery are increasing in India. That's what is the essence of this article. Now in this paragraph, he spoke about Bohr Committee, Muralidhar Committee, etc. Everyone have prescribed for the universal health care by taking the health care delivery as the responsibility of the state. Even Amartya Sen has said, if universal health care has to be achieved, the state has to involve itself. In this case, NHS model is also referred. NHS model is based in UK, National Health Services of UK, where every health worker is a government employee and universal health care is achieved due to government spending money on the health care, hiring the healthcare personnel by itself. Now, death of an activist. So Gauri Lankesh's death, it sends certain signals. It is kind of a warning to the rationalists and humanists and leftists in the country. And second thing is, Miss Gauri Lankesh, she is an activist and also a journalist. So killing of these journalists, they send a wrong signal to the press freedom in India. Already, India is worst placed in the World Press Freedom Index, which was given by Journalists Without Borders. So India has to give or provide for the safety for clear voice of the people, and protecting the journalists comes the forefront of this. Mountains of garbage. So last year, when Mr. Javadekar was the environmental minister, solid waste management rules are being given by the union. So these solid waste management rules include segregation of the waste at the source and penalties to the bulk waste producers and then Central Pollution Control Board overseeing this. These are the various provisions. The organic waste which was segregated, it has to be used to generate energy and also manure, etc. So these are not being implemented even 1 year of notification. That's what this article emphasizes on. Now, development must be climate smart. So, if you see Mumbai floods, Chennai floods, there are some important lessons which we need to learn. So, our development, is it climate smart or sensitive? So, attribution, it means whatever the phenomenon which are occurring, to what extent we can attribute that to climate change. When we see this, climate change is stated to be a reason for extreme weather events happening across the world. But they are not alone are the reason for the floods. So closing of the drainage channels, encroachments, mismanagement of the wetlands, all these are the reasons. So the urbanization in India, it was not based on the ecological principles. Obviously, it is keeping the lives of the people at risk. That's what this article states. And then India-China rebooting ties post-Doklam. So India or China is considering Indian sensitivities with utmost care after the Doklam, especially related to terrorism, cross-border terrorism. In this case, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Pakistan-based terror groups operating in India are declared as terrorist groups threatening the regional stability. But how the action will move forward on this subject can only be seen once a UN Sanctions Committee will be able to declare Mr. Masood Azhar as the international terrorist. Now, China states that India is seeing China from the containment dimension along with the United States and Japan. That's what is the biggest worry to China. And India states that China's presence in South Asia and its expansion into Indian Ocean is like interfering with its sphere of influence. So these are the issues which have been a problem out there. Next is, what data do you share? Quote as the WhatsApp and Facebook. So the right to privacy includes informational and data privacy. In this context, the private players are not expected to share the personal information of the individuals with another providers. In this context, WhatsApp has shared the details of the Indian users with the Facebook, and this is before the Supreme Court now. Next is, Suu Kyi slams misinformation. With regard to the ongoing Rohingya crisis, Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi says that there is huge heaps of the misinformation that is being built up, and the state is doing its best to handle the situation. That's what she wants to assure the world. And now, corporate governance panel report come by month end. So the committee on corporate governance, this is Uday Kotak committee. Remember the name of the committee. Now here Raghuram Rajan has given two important points. Recently, RBI Act was amended to give greater powers to the RBI to direct commercial banks. It means in a way RBI also involving itself with the commercial decisions. So Raghuram Rajan points out that stating the commercial decisions and risk taking shall belong to the banks themselves, and RBI as a regulator is not expected to involve with it. So in this context, Aravind Subramanian previously has stated the problem like this. In India, the Prevention of Corruption Act, under section 13 subclause D, a person, if his decision causes a loss to the government, a commercial decision, if it causes loss to the government, it can be prosecuted under the POCA Act. So that's why bankers were not willing to take risky decisions, and it has led to the pulling of RBI into area where it never had strength. That is what is Mr. Raghuram Rajan's thing is. And second is, with regard to the merger of the banks, if weak banks are merged with the strong banks, we expect a strong entity to emerge. Probably ultimately it may lead to strong bank getting weakened. So that's why before the merger to happen, increasing the health of the weak banks by understanding their status of revenues is very much important. For this, Mr. Raghuram Rajan has conducted stress tests and reinfusing the capital. All these have to be important before we take up the merger. That's what is the opinion of Raghuram Rajan. Now, coming to the notes, it will be available to you at lax.in/civils prep. Thank you very much. All the best.